Hello everyone and welcome to this week's episode of Minecraft Disney World. This week we're taking a look at an attraction that many people have been asking for a long time, and I guess I've been a little bit of a tease for putting it off so long. It is a favorite at the Magic Kingdom. It is one of the mountains. It is one of the roller coasters. It is Big Thunder Mountain Railroad. Now, like many attractions that we've looked at in the past, Big Thunder Mountain Railroad is not exclusive to Walt Disney World. There's one in Disneyland, there's one in Tokyo, and there's one in Paris. And like many of those rides, they'll have different opening days. So the Big Thunder Mountain Railroad in Disneyland actually opened a year before the one in Disney World. It opened in September of 1979, and the one in Disney World opened in November of 1980. What it is, very briefly, is basically a runaway train style roller coaster that takes place in the West, in sort of like a Western town. And like everything Disney does, the attraction has its own backstory, and it varies here and there with details in its backstory. So the basic backstory is at one point in the 1800s, there was gold discovered in this mountain called Big Thunder Mountain, which takes place in the American Southwest. And overnight, like many towns in which gold is found, it became a mining town. In Disneyland, that town is called Rainbow Ridge. In the Magic Kingdom, it's called Tumbleweed. And in Paris, it's called Thunder Mesa. So you have this mining town. Mining was doing really well, but unknown to the people who were mining there, it was actually a sacred Native American cursed burial ground. And so all sorts of horrible things started to happen. And there you have this runaway train theme. It's sort of meant to look like an abandoned mine town with this sort of not haunted, but almost with a mind of its own train that you get to go on and ride. So beyond that story, there are actually a couple of other minor differences. For instance, the Big Thunder Mountain Railroad in Disneyland actually has a rockwork design that's meant to replicate the hoodoos of Bryce Canyon National Park in Utah, whereas the Magic Kingdom version and the ones in Tokyo and Paris have rockworks that are made to look like the Arizona's Monument Valley. So you have a small aesthetic design there. You have some very minor differences in story, but for the most part, they're basically the same. Now, the history of the ride's actually very interesting because it was a ride that was probably going to be built a lot sooner than it ended up being built, but because of many reasons, it ended up being pushed back to the point where it wasn't until 1980 that it was made. And so it was designed by legendary Imagineer Tony Baxter, and Bill Watkins was the design engineer for the ride. And it came from an idea by another Imagineer named Mark Davis, who had this concept for what was called the Western River Expedition. And what that was going to be a giant plateau that actually had multiple rides in it, including this runaway mine train roller coaster. But the pavilion as a whole was too expensive, and they were opening Pirates of the Caribbean in 1973, so they ended up scrapping the idea, and like Disney tends to do, no idea goes to waste. They took that mine train roller coaster and they started to work it into its own separate attraction. But that ride was then once again put on hold in 1974 because they ended up putting the money and the personnel into building Space Mountain in Tomorrowland. The benefit, however, is that because it was put on hold, they were allowed to use newer technologies when it was finally resumed, and as a result, it was actually one of the first Disney rides to use computer-aided design, or CAD, and so you actually get a smoother roller coaster experience as a result. So that's just a quick look at Big Thunder Mountain Railroad. It's a ride that, like many other rides at Disney, is actually now growing beyond just the parks. Even though it started originally at the parks, there's now actually a pilot in the works by ABC called Big Thunder Mountain that we might see at some point in 2014. And on top of that, in the recent trailer for Kingdom Hearts 3, you can see this sort of version of Big Thunder Mountain, the train being ridden by Sora and Donald and Goofy while they're fighting a boss. So, like Pirates of the Caribbean and like Tomorrowland, you see that these become so well loved and so enjoyed that they actually end up growing beyond the parks themselves and sort of gain their own life. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope whatever you're doing this week, you make the most of it. And I hope to see you all next time for the next episode of Minecraft Disney World. Bye, everybody.